Welcome to Pondering Play and Therapy,
where we set out to explore the importance of play in our everyday lives and how this can also be therapeutic. We'll be discussing our own experiences in the hope that others may ponder play in their own lives too.
Welcome to this week's episode of Pondering Play and Therapy with me, Philippa. And this week I have two guests, Tilly and Sarah. Sarah lives with her husband Scott and has three children, Jacob, Tilly, and Esme. Jacob is currently studying at university, but he comes home regularly. Sarah is a therapeutic social worker within a fostering agency and has been in her current role for 4 years, but also was in that same agency for about 10 years before that. Is that not right?
Actually 16 years this year, Philippa.
Well,
Go.
So 16 years. So she enjoys spending time with her family, socialising with friends, supporting Tilly and Esme with their hobbies, which is cheer, which is what really we're here to talk about, because Tilly really is the most interesting part of this podcast. And she is currently completing an apprenticeship in a private day nursery, working mostly with toddlers. But she does get the opportunity to move around and experience different age groups within the nursery. Her main hobby is cheerleading, which she's done since she's been 3 years old. And she currently competes at an international level and will be going to Florida this April. And she also coaches young athletes, both in the team and on a one-to-one basis. So that is amazing, Tilly. At 16 years old, to be at an international level of anything really is amazing. So you call it cheer, but what would the general public understand it as cheerleading? What is it?
So it's quite a competitive sport. It's very contact based. There's a lot of lifts and a lot of tumbling. It's similar to gymnastics in the tumbling aspect, but then we have the stunts as well, which gymnastics doesn't have.
Okay, and how many of you are there in a team?
So there could be anywhere from a small team to 12 athletes to 20, 30.
Okay. So, and is it always a team sport? There's always more than one person. There's always a group of people doing it.
Sometimes there can be solos, like tumble solos, where it's just one person, but most of the time it is a team thing.
Yeah. And even if they're doing a solo, that's as part of a group presentation, is it? So one person might just do something, but then you're actually part of this whole group. And if people are thinking about cheerleading, where would we have seen it? I think about it as a baseball games, or is it an Americanized thing?
Yeah, so lots of people think of cheerleading as pom-poms, sideline sports, but it has evolved into more of a big deal almost, where it's less cheering on the sidelines to actually cheering for yourself, cheering for your own team, and being more its own thing rather than attached to a football game.
Okay, so these cheerleading groups are an entity in itself, and then you compete to be the best at the level that you are. I know that your mum puts things that we can have a look at, and you're standing on top of one another, and you particularly, Tilly, are thrown in the air and they catch you.
Yeah.
So that takes quite a lot of skill, I'm guessing, and a lot of physical strength to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So you're all quite fit, are you, as young people doing these games? Yeah. And you've started when you were 3.
Yeah.
So where did you start and what was that like?
So I started at a small community club in Crewe called Matrix. And I started, I think, just because my mum put me into it, to be honest. And it was just more of fun, like.
And it was shaking pom-poms at that
Yeah.
time. It was little cute outfits, shaking pom-poms.
Yeah, it wasn't like competitive or anything like that. It was more just for fun, and there was lots of small children there.
Okay, so you went there, and I'm assuming you enjoyed it because 13 years later, you're still doing it. How did you progress then to get to be where you are now?
I think I just stuck with it. I think because I'd been there for so long and I did have to really work to be seen as she does have some potential to get the extra help and what I need was an extra. And then I just progressed throughout the years and then decided to look into international teams.
Okay. And I'm guessing, though, you didn't just turn up once for an hour a week on a Wednesday and did a bit of pom-pom and you ended up, I'm guessing, Sarah, there was a lot more that Tilly had to do, even from a young age, to be as competitive as she is now.
Oh, absolutely. I've watched her progress over the years, really, from coming home and knowing that she needs to maneuver her body in certain ways and practicing it on the trampoline, handstanding up my living room walls, having to out in the garden, going to trampoline parks so that she could practice certain things. There's a lot of body conditioning and muscle memory stuff that you've worked on. I think it's that understanding of that process which your coaches have taught you, haven't they? These are the kind of things you need to do before you can do this skill to start to train your body to be able to move in those things. So I watched her from little coming home wanting to do something and having that real drive to, okay, this is the skill that I want to learn and this is what I need to do to get there.
Yeah.
And you did really have that kind of determination to be able to do those things. So there's been lots of years of hard work, really.
And I wonder if you've had to maybe give some things up that people were doing, especially when you're really learning a skill. And it's more than just going to a club on a Wednesday night. And that's fine, going to a club on a Wednesday night and doing that, that's great. But I guess you have excelled at it. And I'm thinking that lots of athletes have to make choices, don't they, between practice and going out with your mates, or
You do have a choice. It's cheer or your social life. And when you do want to be good at it and you want to go far with it, you just have to make that choice and you have to give up things. It is difficult because I have had many points throughout my cheer journey where I thought, oh, I'm missing out on that. Like all my friends going out, I want to go out, but all those sessions are so important that you just can't miss it. You can't afford to lose, even if it's just an hour that you're losing. You just can't afford to lose it if you do want to excel so far.
and what is it that helps you make that choice? Because that's at 13, 14. I don't know that I would have made that choice. So that takes quite a bit of determination, Tilly.
Yeah, I think because there's so many, obviously online, there's lots of big faces in the cheer world, lots of famous people that I look up to. And I've seen them, they're constantly in the gym training. And I was like, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to do. I've always known that there's something beyond the community gyms, which is like the Florida teams and all that. And I've always known that that's something I wanted to do, but I just had to make them sacrifices to be able to get there. And I knew that's what I was getting myself into.
Okay. And so watching role models and having those role models have been really important for you. So if people are listening to this and they want to have a little look on Instagram or TikTok or wherever it is, who would they look for? What would be a good place to start?
So the bigger teams in America, there's Top Gun and Cheer Athletic, Shooting Stars, lots of different big clubs that have lots of athletes that go really far with cheer.
Okay. And I'm guessing, Sarah, as a family, you must have had to put a lot into this because when Tilly's 9, 10, 11, she's not going to do this on her own as a family. And there's 5 of you. So how does that work?
Yeah, I think there've been sacrifices along the way in terms of our own kind of family life and social life. But actually what you become as a parent is you become part of that community, part of that family. So for us, it creates like a whole cheer family around you. So we've gained some fantastic friends. Our other two children, Esme also does cheerleading. She does the community team, and she's done that since she was 4. She's gained family within that, some fantastic friendships alongside that. Jacob's come along to competitions with us, and as much as possible, you make it a fun weekend. So it's not just all about cheer, it's about being together, it's about going out to eat meals, it's about staying in hotels. So as much as the sacrifices sometimes in that your friendship groups at home might be having barbecues or doing things at the weekends that you can't be part of, there's the other positive side of it, in that it does create a whole other community and family that you're involved in, really. It's been fun. It's been a fun journey.
Well, that's good. Because you're quite a playful family, aren't you?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. What do you like doing outside of cheer? We're going to come back to cheer, but what do you like to do as a family? Your mum's a bit silly sometimes, I know, isn't she?
My mum and dad, for as long as I can remember, have always been funny, playful. They've never been the type of parents to just sit back and watch. If me and my brother and my sister were playing, they'd always join in. We've had board game nights, played cards. When we would go on holiday, say if we used to go camping a lot, we'd always have all the sports stuff. So we'd play rounders in the field, and it was always just really enjoyable.
Mm. And your mum's quite competitive, is she?
I actually did mum cheer for a couple of times, and it wasn't anywhere near where Tilly's at, put it that way. But it was fun.
Was it? How do you manage play at home, Sarah, with 3 children? All with different interests, and as they're growing, quite different ages. 20 and 12 is a big gap, and I guess even when Esme was little, there's a big gap between a toddler and an older child.
I suppose we've just always done stuff together. Even now, if Jacob comes home from uni, it's a different play, isn't it? Because they're beyond the toys and those things. We do stuff like have music nights, don't we? So we'll do an 80 set of music where we all choose a letter. We'll go through the alphabet and choose a different band or a different song. So those bits, don't we? We like going out to food. Jacob loves walking, so we try and do bits of those things. I don't think girls are quite so much into the walking bits. It's juggling as everybody's needs, which, like you rightly said, Philippa, have changed so much as they've grown. I think when you were really little, everybody just played together. I think you played young for a lot longer than Esme potentially did. Yeah. And I think that was probably having Esme as a little one. I think Jacob probably played a lot more because he had a younger sister. So yeah, we've always just done that together, haven't we?
Yeah. And how does Esme, because she's quite a little bit younger than you, but she's going through the cheer. Does she look up and want to be in the international group, or is she can see actually all the sacrifices you've made, Tilly, and think, do you know, I really enjoy it, but I'm just going to stay in the community bit and have a different kind of experience of it?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I think she does look up to you massive, and she loves watching you when you're on the floor. I think Esme's happy where she is.
Yes.
If she progressed to that level, she'd equally be happy. So she does put lots of commitment into what she has to do. What I noticed with Esme is she doesn't have that same drive at home. She's quite happy to leave cheer where cheer is and then come home, and she will do the bits, won't she? The stretching. If she's got something that she's told to do, then she will absolutely do it. Where I think for you, Tilly, what I saw is you lived, slept and breathed it when you were younger.
Yeah.
So that is a difference. And you can be either, can't you? You can have just as much fun doing cheer as a community or any club, really, and just going along, putting your all in when you're there. But then for the rest of the week or the bits in between, you just play and do other stuff. For you, Tilly, the difference is that you did it at home and really built your skills. Yeah, and you went more than once a week. I worked with your mum for a while, and I remember you trying to juggle Sarah, taking the girls and Jacob at that time all over the place and dropping them here, dropping them there.
Yeah, we've done 4 or 5 times a week, haven't we?
Yeah.
I think at the moment you go twice a week, don't you? Which is probably the least. Oh no, you don't actually, do you? You go 3 times a week, and then you coach as well. So yeah, we've done lots, haven't we? There was lots of times a week that you've been. At one point, really early into the international team, Tilly was doing both 2 international teams and the community team.
Wow.
So that was an awful lot, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a lot.
And how did you manage that with school, Tilly? Because you were still at school at that time.
I did struggle quite a lot with that because I was so tired, especially with my international teams, the training being in Manchester. It was quite difficult because I was training literally all week. I had no time. I was constantly tired, but it was worth it in the end.
Yeah. So Manchester, I guess people don't know where you are, but Manchester is a good hour and a half from you?
Yeah.
An hour. So that's still a long journey, and you were still in the team near you.
Yeah.
So that's quite a lot. And it would have been the time that you were coming up to your exams as well, was it, that you first started to get into this, into the international team?
Yeah, I think I was doing my mocks at some point throughout it.
Yeah.
A lot.
We stepped back, didn't we, around that time? You had to make some hard decisions, which was really tough for her at the time because you love our local community matrix, don't you? They've been part of our lives for such a long time, for as long as I can remember, really.
Yeah.
And it was that sacrifice of she couldn't do everything alongside GCSEs and those things. So that was a real tough, I think, turning point for you to make those decisions to not do that community team for that season and just concentrate on the international cheer while she was going through GCSE period.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was tricky. And now you coach for the community groups now?
Yeah.
So what's that, teaching all these little ones your skills, really?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Watching them learn new things that I know I've helped them learn, because I remember the feeling of getting a new skill or being able to do something you wanted to do for so long. So seeing them be able to have that feeling, it just feels amazing.
That's good. And what age group do you coach?
So the team I coach is a youth team. What age is that? Like 9 to 12, something like that. Yeah, around like 9 to 12. Yeah, so it's my little sister's team that I coach.
Oh, right. How's that? So you coach your little sister as well?
Yeah.
And 9 to 12, they can be like a little bit fizzy at times, can't they? And messy. How do you deal with that, Tilly?
I just have to let it happen because I remember obviously being that age and being in cheer. But I think cheer is about enjoying yourself as well, and you can't just take away those moments of being silly and enjoying themselves with their friends away from them, because that is what you do it for. You do it for the friendships, to enjoy it.
Yeah. And have you made some good friendships through your club?
Yeah, I have made lots of really good friendships.
Yeah. And it must be hard then, moving from community into international, because they're older, are they, in the international group than you are?
Yeah.
How's that? Because being 16 is quite young, but you were 14 when you first joined there. And was that the first time you went away to America? So tell us about how the international team is different than the community team and why you went to America.
So on the international team, the ages were a lot different. So I was 14, I was the youngest on the team, but I had athletes on my team that were in their 30s, which is obviously a very big age gap. Whereas at the community team, everyone's around a similar age. Probably the oldest person I was on a team with was probably 17, 18. So I did find it quite hard to find similar interests with people that I was on the team with apart from cheer, because when you're at cheer, you don't obviously want to constantly be talking about cheer. But I think in the end, everyone was just so close. I did get treated like a little sister almost by a lot of the athletes. So they taught me a lot of things.
Okay. And so are the people on the international team, they've come from different community clubs. So it's an elite team where people have been taken from different clubs and brought together to compete at an international level.
Yeah, so there's a tryout process. So people from all over the country, we have people from everywhere come to try out, and then the coaches will pick who they want on the team.
So did you have to try out at the age of
Yeah.
14? Oh my goodness. You'd done competitions before in the community group.
Yeah.
And you were pretty good, weren't you, with Matrix? I remember we were pretty good as a team. But
Yeah.
going to international is not just even the next step up, is it? It's a big step up to that. And we'll tell us about the tryout process, because I guess that's hard.
Yeah, so it was very nerve-wracking because a lot of the people there already knew each other. They'd came together from their community clubs or other clubs that they were at. And I went with a few people, but I was in a separate tryout, wasn't I?
You were the youngest, weren't you? So your age tryout was different than theirs.
Yeah, so I was by myself in all my tryouts. So I didn't really know who to speak to. And obviously the whole time you're at a tryout, you're getting watched for everything you do and you're getting almost judged on everything. So yeah, it was very nerve-wracking.
So what do you have to work with other people? So people that you don't know, you might have to do something with in a tryout.
Yeah, so they'll put you in a group of random people and you have to stunt with them. So obviously I'm a flyer.
So what's a flyer? So let's tell us what a flyer is.
So a flyer is the top person that gets lifted in the air.
So when they make the pyramid, when we see them make the pyramid, you are the person that's on the very top of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then do they sometimes throw you up and catch you?
Yeah.
Okay. And then if they are doing the throwing up and catching of people on the floor, sometimes we've seen them on Britain's Got Talent, haven't we? And they throw, you are the person that they are throwing really high in the air. And then you're thinking, oh my gosh, are they going to catch this person? That's you, the one that's going in the air. Wow, that's brave. Okay, so you were a flyer, and a stunt is that you're doing one of these activities where you're showing off your talents, really.
Yeah.
But you're trying to do this with people that you've never met before.
Yeah, so you get put with people that you obviously don't know. So you just have to trust them that they're going to do their job and you just have to do yours. Because if you don't trust them and you don't do what you're supposed to do, that's when it will go wrong. So it is a lot of trust in people you've obviously never met before. Yeah.
To throw you in the air and catch you, that is a huge amount of trust, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? If you're on the bottom of that pyramid, it doesn't seem so bad because you're on the ground and you've got everybody above you, but you've got to really have faith that people have got skill to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Wow. And what's it like for you, Sarah, watching that happen to your baby?
In the early days, it was awful. I used to just grimace, but I think I've watched her so many times now in the air. I'm used to it. I still have that moment of hold your breath and pray that it doesn't go wrong. But the bases are amazing, and I've watched the stunts go wrong, but I've watched those girls below her give every bit of themselves to make sure they catch her. So I think there is that trust element. And over the years, you start to realise actually how strong those people underneath her are. Esme is a base, and I watched her at the last comp. Her flyer was falling, and Esme gave everything that she could to make sure she caught that little girl. She landed herself on her back with her on top of her, and that's part of the process that it's like don't drop your flyer. So as a parent, you do start to develop that trust in those people. You can see equally as much as Tilly's job's hard in the air, their job below is equally hard to be able to catch that person above you. So you do start to notice that process, and develop that trust, but it's still never easy to watch.
And that's a huge feeling of team, isn't it? That you belong to something if people really got your back. And that must in itself feel amazing.
Yeah, it is really cool.
But then you got in, so you got through this process and you got accepted and you were 14 years old. And then you were working to go onto an international competition.
Yeah.
So tell me about the process of getting to the international competition. How was that?
It was very intense. It was a lot different than obviously the community club. And I learned that very quickly that it was a lot more intense and I had to give my everything. The training as we got closer to flying to the international competition was very intense. We was like training back to back to back to make sure that we were perfect and good enough for this competition.
So when you say back to back to back, what does that mean?
So if we had a training session, we would come in an hour early to do extra training before we started training as well. So we'd just keep on adding on extra time to our set training sessions to make sure we got all those extra reps in.
Wow. So you're going to Stockport to do this, which is an hour away from your house. How many days a week were you doing that?
Well, at that time, it became 3
3
days a week.
And you were at school still. That's a lot going on. And you physically, if you're doing those training, your muscles must physically have got tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you recover and recuperate?
Sleeping when you could.
Yeah.
Do to sleep, don't you, Tilly?
Yeah, I just slept a lot. Whenever I had free time, I was asleep.
Okay. And so then you got good enough. And where did you go in the States first? Because you've been to 2 different places, haven't you?
Yeah, so the first time I went, we flew to Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened at that time is Tilly got onto an international team through tryouts. And then a month into training, they asked her to join a second international team within that program. So she was doing 2 international teams alongside each other.
Yeah, so the first one was to Texas, and then the one that got asked to be on was to Florida.
Goodness. And that was all this, you're still 14 at this time.
Yeah.
So you have to now raise the funds because you're not paid to go there, are you?
No.
So Sarah, how do you decide that you're gonna, one is let your 14-year-old go to Texas, or could you go with her as a chaperone, or did she have to go on her own?
Yeah, you can't go as a chaperone as such. We could have gone along to watch her, but you cannot be with the team during that time. So you have to fly separately. You stay in your accommodation separately. The only time you can actually see them is on the day that they compete. So when they come off the floor, you can see them. But for the rest of the time, there is a training schedule. So their whole time there is planned around training and what they're doing as a team. So as a parent, you can't just tag on to that.
So how long is that process? How long are they away for then?
So Texas was 8 days, wasn't it? So she did Texas in the February, which was 8 days, and then Florida in the April of the same year, which was 10 days. It was really hard, really hard. I think I underestimated at the time, leading up to it, how hard that was going to be. Having her so many thousands of miles away, yeah, it was really tough. It was really strange. You were really good in terms of phoning, weren't you? Because there was a big time difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really tough waving her off at that airport and leaving your most precious possession in the hands of somebody else.
I remember my son at 18 going to Chicago to stay with some friends, and he was going for 3.5 weeks. And I'll never forget the feeling of him. Actually, it still makes me choke now, of walking through the security and then knowing I couldn't get to him. And that was it. He'd been away for overnights and a weekend. But it's that distance, isn't it, as a parent, that if your child needs you, you can't just get there, can you? Honestly, it still makes me choke now thinking about that feeling. It's awful. But at 14, that's huge. That must have been so hard for you and Scott.
Yes, it
And I
was.
imagine Esme and Jacob must have missed her as well.
Yeah, I think it was just for all levels, really. We went in the April to watch her. We couldn't do both, but we did go as a family in the April. And it was really strange because obviously we'd done the same at the airport and off she had gone through the terminal. We knew we were going not long afterwards. So we then passed through the terminal ourselves and we saw you were in the shops. And so it felt different knowing, although we didn't see her for the time we were there, other than on the day she competed, it was that feeling of knowing you were in the same country. So if there was anything, you could just jump in an Uber and be there. So it was quite a different experience from the February to the April. It was just bizarre. And I think even then in the April, that day of going to see you at comp and meeting you on the field, that reconnection was just massive. Even for Jacob and Tilly, I remember taking your photo together and Jacob was hugging you, and it was just that almost reconnect because the four of us had been together in Florida with you there, but in a separate place. And that was really strange.
Yeah. And for you, Tilly, goodness, what was it like at 14 to one, know you were going and then to actually do it?
So in the February when we went to Texas, I did struggle towards the end of the trip. I was homesick. So obviously it was a big change. I'd never been that far away without my family for so long, and I am really close to my parents. We are a really close family, so it was difficult towards the end, but I knew that I'd obviously be able to see them. In the April in Florida, I didn't struggle as bad because I'd experienced it already in Texas, but I still wanted to see them. And then the feeling of the actual competition, it was just crazy. Words can't describe the feeling of it.
So you get to Texas, 14. How many teams are competing and where are they from?
So there's literally thousands of teams from all over the world, literally from everywhere. And the arena, when you walk in, it's just an absolute swarm of people. Like you can hardly move. There's so many people just everywhere. Even when you're warming up, there's loads of people warming up around you and they're all doing the same stuff, but they're all just from different places and it's just really weird to see.
Because it's quite surprising, really, because you do think of it as a very American-based thing, don't you? To think that actually this is going on all over the world is quite a surprise, I imagine, for most people. So then you go, and what happens then? So you warm up, and do you compete in heats, in batches, and what happens?
There's lots of people in warm up at the same time, maybe 5-10 teams in the warm up room warming up together. And then you're backstage and one team goes on at a time and does their routine. We would compete, come off the floor, and then the next team would go on. And that would just happen throughout the day.
And it's in categories, isn't it? Like levels. There might be so many level 5s. And we talked earlier about the sizes of the team. So it might be level 5 small or it might be level 5 large. And so they're each done you're against the same people in the same category as you.
So a level 5 is somebody who's great, but maybe they haven't been doing it as long or they don't do it as often. And is level 1 the top or the other way around?
No, the other way around. So I think what level does it go up to? It goes up to level 7 is your top.
So level 7 is the top and level 1, the entry level.
Yeah.
Where were you in that Tilly? Where was your group?
In Texas, I was level 4. And in Florida, I was level 5.
Wow, so quite high up in that. You were pretty near the top then. Okay, so then you go on, and is there judges? Is there a panel of judges? Who is saying who goes through, who doesn't?
So there's obviously the big audience, and then there's the judging panel of judges that they all judge different things. So there'll be a judge for the jumps, a judge for the stunts and the tumbling and then the routine and the creativity of the dance and the choreography. And then you get sent out your score sheet, which is what they rate all your different things that you've done. And then the big award ceremony at the end. So all the team from your category will go onto the stage what you've performed on, and they announce the awards.
Okay, so you just perform once, do you? It isn't like a knockout.
So there's 2 days. So on day one you perform, and if your score's high enough, only a certain amount of people from each country will get through. I think it was 3 teams from the UK could get through to the next day. But if there's not 3 UK teams in your division, in your category, you just automatically go through to the next day anyway.
Okay, and what did you get through to the next day?
Yeah, there was only 1 UK team in our division.
So you were automatically through. And then what did you do? Get the trophy, or what happens at the end of it?
At that particular comp, it's jackets, isn't it?
Yeah.
They get these, they're like leathery jackets, aren't they?
Like what you'd see
Baseball-y.
the American
Like a varsity jacket?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So there you're competing, you get some scores, you get the jackets, and then what happens? So that's the end of that one, and you come home.
Yeah.
And then you go back a few months later with a different team, and I'm imagining a different routine.
Yeah.
So you've had to learn one routine at a really high level for one team, whilst still practicing for the other team, and then learn this routine, and you go to Florida. And does that work the same, or is the Florida competition slightly different?
It works pretty much the same. It's 2 days again, and you have to get through to the second day.
The Florida one's kind of the biggest comp. The one that everybody wants.
Yeah, biggest deal. It's the World Championship.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you get through to the second day?
Yeah.
You did. And this time you had to work and got through to the second day. And then what happens? Are you rated, or what happens then?
Yeah, so you're scored against the other teams, and then your scores are compared, and that's how they decide who gets first, second, third, and so on.
Where did you guys come?
In 6th that year, didn't you?
Yeah.
6th? I'm imagining there's a lot of people.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you've got to battle through the first day, and it was over 20 teams, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to get through to that next day. 6.
Wow, that's amazing. And then you all had a family holiday, did you, of Disneyland? Could you then come and join them, Tilly, or did you have to go home and they carried on with their holiday? Or
No, we flew home on the same day, didn't we, as Tilly? But even we did the Disney thing and everything else in between the 2 days that we watched Tilly compete. But she wasn't able to be part of that because they have their schedules. So it's not a case that you're there for 10 days, but actually you don't compete till probably the 6th day into being there. So really, day 1 and day 2 are towards the end of your holiday. So they competed. Then there was a day off, and then you competed again, then flew home. I think it worked out like that. So she wasn't able to be part of the holiday we had, which is, is really hard. Although you're in your best life.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you did that 14. Have you done it again?
Yes, I went last year. Yeah, again with another level 5 team back to Florida in April.
You came 4th?
Yeah, we came 4th.
Wow.
We were literally half a point away from 3rd place and a globe, which is like a big world trophy. So yeah, it was really amazing.
Oh, that's fantastic. And was it easy when you went, by the time you went the 3rd time? Was that easier?
Yeah, it wasn't as, it was still a big deal, but I didn't stress about it as much.
Yeah.
You knew what was coming then, didn't you?
Yeah.
And she's going again in April with a level 16 this time.
Wow. So that's the next level up. And is this different international team than that you've been in? So somebody else has asked you to go and you've moved over to that team?
In the same program. So the program that she's in has teams right from prep level and all-star right up to international. So it's within that same program, but it's a different team within that program.
Okay. And do you have to try out for them, or do people invite you to go?
There's a big set of tryouts, and then you have to get invited to callbacks to basically try out again against all the other people that have been invited to callbacks, and then you get told what team you're on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can go and try out the program. So anybody can go and try out within the program. And you have to try out every year, regardless of whether you're already in that program. Every year you retry out. But then you have to be invited to try out for the international team. You can't just try out, or that has to be an invite to go along to that.
Wow. So again, that's quite an achievement, really, because I'm guessing there's lots of people that want to do these international teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So you're going again this April, and these are big commitments, especially now as you're hitting later teenage years, you're doing an apprenticeship. How is it now for you? Because I imagine you're having to do less with your friendship group that you've got in the area you live, and a lot more with older people in a group. That's quite a long way from you.
Yeah, so I don't get to go out as much with my friends from home, but I do still see a lot of my friends.
I suppose what I see is that you've developed a whole different friendship group within the cheer world, really. So you spend a lot of time in the Manchester area, don't you? Kind of meeting up with friends from that she's just met through cheer there, really. So you still do socialise, you go to parties, but it's always in Manchester.
Yeah.
Which for you, Sarah, I guess is that travelling again.
Yeah, it's got easier as she's got older, because over the time that she's been part of this club, I've got to know the parents there. So they're really good. They know we live a bit of a distance. So they'll often offer for her to sleep over if there's a party that they're all going to there, which, means that we don't have to go and pick her up in Manchester at 11 o'clock. So that's really, really nice to have those connections. You get the train more, and those parents that we know will go and meet you at the station if you're staying at the house. So you develop your own relationships within that who are quite supportive. So I think it's that easier. When she was much younger, it was hard before you get to know those people, because obviously you can't just agree a sleepover with somebody that you don't know. I think now over time it's starting to get easy. And you're confident, aren't you, to go and get the train? So it has become easier.
Oh, that's lovely. And we're almost at the end, but I just wanted to ask you just a little bit about the nursery. So you work with little people. How's playing with those little people there?
Amazing. I love it. They just love being around you. They constantly want to be sat with you, or they want you to read a story to them, or they want you to dress the dolls for them. And it's just really nice.
Okay, so you're with toddlers 2 and 3, is that right?
Yeah.
Do you think they play differently than, do you have older ones in there? Do you notice any difference in their play?
Yeah, so when I'm in toddlers, they're like whirlwinds. They just go from different activities. They just want to play with everything at the same time. Whereas when I go to preschool, which is like for like around that age, they're more like playing role play games. They'll dress up, play mums and dads or teachers, or they want to build a tower or build a house with the bricks. More like structured play almost.
Oh, that's lovely. And do you like playing? Is that something you enjoy? Yeah. And do you teach them any of your cheer stuff, the little ones, just a little bit?
No, not really.
No, it's not the place. You've got that in your coaching area. And is that what you're going to do, Cara? Because your apprenticeship, I guess, gives you a qualification at the end for a nursery nurse, and that's where your career path goes. Can you make a career path of cheerleading?
You can, but it is difficult. You have to be a really, really good program. It has to be a high-end program to make a proper living out of it almost.
Okay, so I guess like playing for a Premiership team, they get played, whereas if you're in League One, you might play and be professional, but there's not enough money to live. You still need to be a nursery nurse or a GP
Yeah.
or whatever it is. Okay. What about coaching? Is that something you're going to expand, or are you just staying because it's your a place where you've grown up, really, I guess?
I think I'd rather just stay with my community team and coach there because I
Yeah.
am confident coaching there. I know how it all works there and everything.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you must be exceptionally proud of her, Sarah.
I am, yes, definitely.
Thank you very much for spending some time and sharing your experiences, which is really interesting. Thank you very much for being on Pondering Play and Therapy.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.